Hi and welcome back. We're in Gondor again. It's another episode of Gondor Gone Wild, but this time I'm going to sort of change tack a little bit. I've been asked, I'm encouraged to, talk a bit more, and instead of, the sort of fancy cuts, which there'll still be, but so this is going to be pretty much a playthrough of this little zone, and me discussing an article on the LotRO players website that you can see in the description of this video. The article, which will probably come up on the screen round about now. Yeah, it's an article on the LotRO players website written by Kaylee Starshine, which discusses the Turbine sort of move away from raiding or traditional group content to big battles. Now I'll bring the article down and we can sort of talk about that. So let's start off. I'll just start playing and talking at the same time. Now, some of the points raised in the article are good ones, but for starters, I think I'll talk about the tone really of the article, and she refers to Turbine often as the overlords and the citizens. Now, I don't know if that's an old kind of way of doing things, but an old sort of within the community, I don't know, but I just didn't think it was incredibly constructive. Now, if I'm going to want to get a point across that I'm going to want someone to listen to, then I'm not going to call them, like overlords. I think it was slightly sort of, I don't know, it's confrontational, it's a bit provocative, and it's I don't know. I mean, if it was me, if I was Turbine and I read that, I would just sort of smirk a bit to myself. Overlord sort of applies to, some sort of draconian master who doesn't really care too much about, their subjects, kind of thing. It just seemed sort of unnecessarily, it just sort of seemed unnecessary to me. I thought, if I'm going to want to be listened to, whether or not you agree with these people, no matter what opinion you have of them, I think basic sort of courtesy is, but that's just, I suppose that's a minor point, but I just wouldn't have done it. So, but what she talks about is obviously that the fact that in the Helm's Deep beta, if you haven't read the article, in the Helm's Deep beta, they had a poll apparently on the forums about what people thought about the content, and apparently the response was overly negative, but Turbine did nothing. They didn't change anything, they didn't really listen, and then they said that the majority of people commenting were in fact a very vocal minority, and thus swept all criticisms under the carpet. And yeah, so what was the point? What's the point in actually come on? What was the point in actually sort of commenting and engaging with them if you weren't going to be listened to anyway? And I can understand that. I can understand how that can, seem or appear to be, sort of rather sort of, I don't know, I wouldn't say depressing, but sort of, off-putting. What's the point in engaging with them if they're just not going to listen to you? So, but the thing that strikes me really is, if I was, if I was Turbine, then, am I interested in having a community that that I don't care about? How am I going to make money best? How am I going to sort of turn profits? And that's obviously going to be by listening to my community. So, but Turbine's response was, yes, that these people are a vocal minority, and the majority of people were happy about it, and therefore big battles are going to go ahead, and therefore traditional raid content they're not going to use resources on. Now, I don't have any reason to disbelieve them, you know, because it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense at all to sort of, you know, alienate your community like this. So, you know, let's go from the assumption that this is true. Let's actually work from the assumption that what they're saying is true, that the majority of LotRO players don't raid, don't do group content, and solo. Because, you know, what reason have Turbine got to lie? Do you see what I mean? It doesn't make any sort of sense to me. You know, why lie to your community about what they want? You know, is it like, you know, okay, we had this idea of big battles and we're going to force it on you because, you know, that makes no sense. Because we think it's a good idea, so you have to give us your money. I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all. So, you know, they have the stats of what we do. You know, what I'm doing right now is being recorded somewhere, you know. And so it kind of makes no real sense to me for them to kind of then start lying about what the community actually wants, rather than, you know, I'm sure the feedback about big battles has been taken into consideration about what works, what doesn't work. I'm sure that's, you know, I'm sure that's been a part of it. But I'm also sure that, yeah, I'm sure they listen to you, and I'm sure they continue to listen to the community about what's working in the big battles and what isn't working. I'm also certain that by the time we get to Mordor, that we're going to have probably a traditional raid or a traditional, that's my phone, a traditional raid or a traditional, you know, instance or whatever. I can't see it, but I was thinking about, you know, the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. I think the big battle setup there is absolutely perfect for that. You know, a raid or an instance is usually because sort of, you know, indoors, or at least, you know, in a sort of enclosed environment, and that you know, the big Battle of the Pelennor Fields is obviously out in the open, and to feel like the battle is going on around you and you're a part of that and you're helping, if that's, you know, how it's going to be, which I imagine it will be, I think that makes a great deal of sense. And I think that there are things wrong with the big battle system. I'm not even going to say it's perfect at all. It can be quite a grind. I still think that there are lots of too many pauses, but yeah, there are far too many pauses in between games, and or in between sort of rounds, with not a lot of people sort of understanding what's going on and why the pause is there. And but actually, when you get into it and when you sort of understand what's going on, it makes a great deal of sense as you're preparing barricades, etc., etc. Some of my old criticisms of big battles really didn't actually make a great deal of sense. So once I actually worked out sort of what it is I'm supposed to be doing. So it's so that's one thing. But again, I do miss, you know, I think Gondor could have done with a raid or an instance, and I'm not going to say I'm completely behind Turbine on all of their on their decisions on that. But the idea of them not listening to the community as a kind of a spite idea doesn't really sort of wash with me, which kind of, I suppose, then completely undermines most of the argument that Kaylee Starshine sort of comes with. Because, you know, what's the motive? You know, what is the motive here? What is the motive for them to not listen? There isn't one. I can't think of any. Especially if, you know, they're concerned with bottom line. As every business is, you know, as WoW is, as every single business and every single game business is concerned with making money. And I'm sure, you know, if Turbine are going to be making a game that's going to lose money because of what they're doing, then, you know, then they won't do it. It just, you know, it makes no sense. They won't even be allowed to do it. You know, I mean, they've got people like, you know, they're called Warner, they're called publishers, you know, that they have to probably report to on a monthly or a quarterly basis and show them their bottom line figures. And so I'm sure the idea of, you know, how much would it cost to create this instance, how much would it cost to create this raid, combined to how much would it cost to create the big battles or implement those, and they've weighed up it up, and it's obviously not worth it. So again, you know, it just seems to me to be completely an erroneous argument, a flawed argument in the sense that from a business perspective it makes no sense. There's no point in lying about the figures, there's no point in lying about any of it. You know, they've made their decision, they stuck to it. Pelagear is probably the best one of the lot. It's yeah, again, it's not perfect. I still haven't platinumed it yet, which is annoying. But I do understand that there are people here who have been playing the game for a lot longer than me. I've been playing for about 3.5 years. I think this will be my 4th year coming up here on the birthday. I think when it is, I've forgotten it, it's about February or March or something like that. I did actually start playing. I rolled a Lore Master when it came out, but kind of gave up because, which is going to, you know, quite ironically now thinking about it, I gave up because group content put me off. I've always seen, and this is just personal now, as Lord of the Rings as online as the best single player RPG I've ever played in my life. You know, I've got to level 100 on my own. I've reputation changed and QD bestowed. That's the thing there. I'm just going to make sure I get those. Oops. Just going to make sure I get the Q and that'll do, and I'll take that. I'll take those, and I'll obviously take those. Yeah, it's the best sort of single player I've played. It's amazing. You know, I've alone in this vast sort of, you know, Middle Earth, this universe, fighting against, you know, the forces of Sauron has been fantastic, and it continues to be fantastic. Otherwise, you know, I wouldn't be playing and I wouldn't be doing this video. Now, whether or not everyone shares that is completely, obviously, is an incredibly personal thing. And there are people here who are kind of traditional MMO players who want raids and who want group content, and I completely understand and sympathise. But there is a time, I think, when you have to sort of weigh up if the game is for you anymore. And judging by the decisions made and the criticisms levied at Turbine, I think for some people it would be much easier to sort of step away and say, no, this isn't for me, this isn't my game anymore. Because yeah, as I was saying before, when you've been playing for such a long time, there is a sense of ownership, you know, and I understand that. I understand that sense of ownership, and you know, you feel you've put a lot into it. You feel you've funded the game, if you're VIP, of course, or just bought points. And so then you feel that, you know, you've had your, you know, you feel that, you know, the game in some way is yours. You've invested in it. But obviously the counter argument that is, you've invested in it, and you've got an incredible, hopefully, amount of enjoyment and fulfillment out of playing it. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be playing. So, you know. But you know, please don't sort of, you know, take this as I'm taking sides or this is pro Turbine, because it isn't. This is just oh dear, this is just yeah, my opinion from a completely sort of a business style perspective. It just makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. That Turbine would make a decision and carry on doing it if they were losing subscribers hand over foot. You know, someone would stop them. Someone, you know, who they would have to listen to. And when I mean that, obviously, you know, they have to listen to the community, but obviously mean people in suits, people with checkbooks, people who, like, you know, make decisions whether games like this can carry on or the funding. Which again brings me on to the layoffs, I suppose, that have been mentioned and were, I think, loosely mentioned in the article. Now, layoffs happen all the time in the video game industry. It's not new. It really isn't. And we don't know what the layoffs were. We don't even know if they affected LotRO. Obviously, you don't, you know, layoffs aren't a sign, perhaps, of progress, but we don't know what it was. It could be someone who had just designed something to do with the big battle system. They've designed that. Now they've implemented it, for example. Now they've got that code. They've got that idea. Then that person perhaps isn't needed anymore. So what's the point in keeping them on? You know, it could be anything to do with this development process. It could even be admin staff. It could be anything at all. And what gives me some kind of hope, I suppose, is that we have to... Oh, who's that? Oh, there he is. We have to remember that Turbine has just given us 2 updates this year, a new big battle, and also a brand new class, which I'm sure takes hours and hours of both design and of testing and balancing. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't sort of fit in with this picture of a dying game that they're using so much. You know, a game that was dying for me would just be to churn out the content, let us get to Mordor, and let's go. And the amount of investment it must have taken to make the Bjorning, to balance the Bjorning, to get the animations, you know, to make the new area, all these things, you know, take time, and time costs money, and it seems to be that Turbine has got the time and has been allowed the money. So maybe they haven't used the time as well as you'd like them to use the time. That's absolutely, yeah, it's really getting on my nerves. These guys just keep on raising me. But you know, but whether you agree with their decisions or not, I suppose, is by the by here, as far as this argument is concerned, at least. Whereas, you know, the game to me doesn't seem to be like it's on its last legs. They're working on this imbuing system that was also mentioned in the article. Again, it's taking time, it's balance. Yes, they haven't updated the music system yet, and I know that there are lots of people who are disappointed by that, and I think those people are fantastic. I think the people who do the sort of the stuff on Lorelyn and make the music and have the weather stock, I think it's called, absolutely brilliant. LotRO couldn't ask for a better sort of subsection of their community. But yet again, I think if you have limited resources, then I think that you're going to have to ask yourselves as a company, you know, what is the priority here? And the priority has to be getting us to Mordor. And you know how I mean. The thing is, I think, as I said, I think these people who play the minstrels and all the people who play the instruments, the music system, I think they're absolutely fantastic. But I think that it's a priority that I'd rather Turbine took than didn't. That's all I can. That's all I can say. I would rather that we. I'll have to sort of travel around now. I don't really know what's going on. I think I'll take him out. And yeah, because I mean I'm on Windfola server, which is not an RP server, and I've heard the complaints similar to the other ones about no group content. You know, that is a real kind of complaint from a lot of people, I suppose. But not to the extent where they obviously don't play anymore because they keep coming. But no one I know of or have seen or engaged with in the game has this is rather annoying now. In the game has expressed or shown any kind of you know, talent for music and play the music. So I'm sure that again it's a question of priority, it's a question of how many people actually use this, and I think that you know, it's a shame they don't, you know, it's a shame they're not World of Warcraft, a shame they don't have loads of money, but you know, hopefully the music system will come, and you know, but I don't really want Turbine to sort of take focus off you know, Gondor, the White City, or making a big battle for Pelennor Fields, or the imbuing system that's coming for because, you know, I really have leveled up my this time. I've really gone completely all out to get my LI. I'm still, you know, still on the way. Here it is, my LI as sort of powerful as possible, and yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with all my relics. I've bought Crystal of Remembrance. You know, it's all pretty good. So, you know, to have to do that again at level 105 is going to be a real drag. So, you know, I think that is a priority. And so I hope, and I'm glad that they are, you know, that they're focusing their energies on that rather than appeasing, unfortunately, perhaps a relatively small part of the community for that. But I do hope they get their wish, and I do hope they continue to be a part of the community, even if it's something that I don't personally sort of, you know, engage in any way. But I like the fact that it's there, you know. There's lots of things in any community, real life or not, you know, you sort of like the fact that there's this cultural element to it, even if it's something that you yourself don't actually use or you know, actually engage in. So another thing I'm not sure if you know, I've spoken about before, I'm a member or admin on I'm an admin on the LotRO Facebook group, which is really taking off recently. It's there's just new members all the time. I have to prove every single one of them. And this sounds like a moan, but it's not. But I think it shows sort of the groundswell at the moment. I think the Bjorning class has really got new players into the game. I don't know if you guys go over onto the Reddit group or not, but the Reddit group, it's you know, the front page is almost solely people saying that they're coming back to LotRO, or they're playing this for the first time, and what's a good class to be, or, you know, I haven't played for 2 years, want to come back. You know, loads and loads of positive signs, basically, that this game isn't dead and isn't dying. And in a way, it actually vindicates Turbine's choices. Because why are all these people thinking of coming back? Why are all these people rolling a Bjorning, you know, again, costing 1,000 Turbine points a time? You know, why are they doing that if they don't care about the game? That doesn't sort of make any sense to me at all. So, well, it doesn't make sense to me, basically, because, you know, the game is very, very good, and people seem to be happy with it how it is, and people are recommending it to other people, and people are getting back into it. So, I don't know. Before I sort of start with my fancy editing, getting to the end of this... Oh, sorry, I know you're cowering, but I know you're Harry Dream, and that's just how it is. So, I think that there's lots to be positive about. There's lots to look forward to. I think there's lots of good stuff to talk about, lots of stuff to happen. I think there's, you know, a great community out there. And I really do think that, to sort of sum up, and it sounds, you know, again, like me being a bit of an overlord, but I really think it's a time now to like it or lump it. I think I think the voice is necessary, the criticism is necessary, but you know, I don't think that Turbine are going to do anything you know, to jeopardise basically their own livelihoods, really, which is exactly what it is. So, you know, why would they want to put themselves out of a job by making decisions that actually lose them money? It really doesn't make any sense at all. So, oh, I'm going to die here. It's like, before, I think Turbine, I think we have to trust them. I think that's basically the bottom line. When we have to listen to them and we have to trust them. I mean, we've been given this game that we're obviously all still playing and really enjoy, and I think they want us to really enjoy it, and we want us to really enjoy it. So I can't really see why, you know, they would want to, you know, lose their own jobs and lose subscribers. I think actually the truth seems to be, just again, it's first-hand experience, but it seems to be quite the opposite. It seems to be that we're entered into a period where oh, I had that and that I could have used. Oh, I didn't think about it. Into a period where we're actually getting a lot of new subscribers, a lot of new people into the game, and I think that's great. And I really hope that they continue. And if you're one of those people, you know, please stay around. And I think that the Bjorning has done very, very well, and I think hopefully it's brought a great deal of revenue in. I do think it's a shame they had to cut Chance Thomas loose for their music, which is again is a sign of perhaps profits aren't what they were. But again, you know, cutbacks and sort of downsizing and focusing strategy is not uncommon for any title. And the fact that we've been promised a whole program into 2015 and 2016, and we've just had a new class, and hopefully we're getting the imbuing system here. I think it was February when the new update comes. I think that you know, I think there's a lot to sort of be positive about instead of negative, and I can't really share too many of the concerns about that. So yeah, well, that's what I've got to say on that. And so yeah, let's just sort of move on from there now. Let's do some sort of editing thing, I don't know. Let's see what happens. So you've heard my kind of thoughts there on Kaylee Starsinger's article. It would be great to know what you think. It's kind of the reason I do it, is to engage in debate. So yeah, please let me know what you think in the comments. That would be great. As it's kind of like, you know, why we do this. People who YouTube, we want to sort of engage and interact with the community. Some people probably perhaps do it for I don't know, fame or whatever. I think if I wanted to be famous, I think I would have been by now. So it's not really about that at all. What's in here? Why is that? Strange. You've muddied your wits. I think I'm going to leave it there. I think I'm going to say goodbye here in this kind of mudded view. It's quite annoying. But yeah, you know, like it, subscribe. Lots of people unsubscribing recently. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, I suppose. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it interesting. Hope you want to engage with me about what I've said, or you know, or not. But you know, thanks a lot, and you know, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.